Hi there, I'm Gray Cause. Thanks for downloading this video tutorial. This tutorial is part of my Run with the Power of the Breath program. And it's a short tutorial, but it's just giving you a little idea of how you can develop a practice, how you can build a practice, how you can put your own little training program together. We'll look at things of, why do I run? It's a great question that we should be asking ourselves. And what are the things that maybe have held us back in the past that has stopped us achieving our goals? And I'll also be giving you 4 gears of breath. This is a really good way of monitoring your effort level when you're running so that you don't get out of breath. We should never be out of breath when we're running. So I hope you enjoy the video, and if you've got any questions, then please do not hesitate to contact me, and have a great day. Thanks, enjoy your running. Moving forwards now from the course, consider how you're going to continue and how you are going to build your practice or devise a training program. And some of the things you want to jot down and think about is your overall vision. Now, vision is very much about quality. So I want to really be able to enjoy my running. I want to have some time to myself to practice, and I really want to get that qualitative feelings from the practice that I do. And then you can start penciling in some goals that is going to help you achieve that feeling, that quality feeling. And the goals are much more sort of like quantitative, so they're a little bit more measurable in terms of perhaps it's I want to practice the nasal breathing 20 minutes a day, because if I do that, I know I'll be able to run with more ease when I've practiced that after a few weeks. Always remember that we are working with intention. So intention to whatever we are practicing really does make a difference. It really helps that mind, body, breath connection. And play, make sure that you are enjoying what you're doing. Or if you're not enjoying what you're doing, then we just need to change things about a bit, mix it up a little bit. So enjoyment, play, explore, experience, and have fun is really going to pay dividends and really help you to achieve your goals and your visions. Come back to that question we asked at the very beginning of the course. Why do I want to run? Why do I want to achieve this vision? Why do I want to achieve my goals? Because if you have a real clear why behind what you're doing, it's much easier then to be able to plan how to achieve that. And jot down things that maybe hold you back from achieving your goals or reaching to your vision. That could be anything. It could be that you actually don't have much time, or you don't think you have much time to actually dedicate to your practice. So we've got to be realistic, but at the same time, maybe that is something that you could move around a little bit and you could make that time. So anything that you feel holds you back, that could be purely physical. It could be an old injury you've had, or whatever, anything like that. Just jot those notes down. And then when we're designing a program, we really have to consider whatever program it's for, whether it's running, whether it's gym training, that it's compatible with life, basically, with your day-to-day life. So these are a few of the things that you want to consider. So how many days per week do you feel you could run? What time you can allocate to your practice? What time of the day is best, and includes any other type of practice or exercise that you do. So if you're perhaps doing yoga or Pilates, so just pop those in there as well, because obviously all of that contributes to your training program. So if you map that out quite clearly, and again, this is just a structure, you're going to be able to change it, but at least if you set aside and you say, right, on a Monday, I know I have got 20 minutes, then I'm going to do X, and then we can start putting in the X or whatever it is that you're doing in that time. But if we never create that space, then it's always going to get filled with something else. When you're putting together a program, consider what type of runs, what type of sessions you want to include. I would say this is the basic structure of the basic sessions that you want to get into your program. So if you look in the second column, you'll see there the sessions: the long, slow distance run, walk, a recovery run, a fun run, a tempo run, race pace, intervals, and hill repeats. But what to me is more important is going out with the intention of what those runs are, rather than just thinking I have to go and do that training. Think of the long, slow distance run. If you go out with the intention of I've got to run like this all day long, then you're not going to start off too fast. You're not going to run out of energy halfway through the run. Now, a long, slow distance run can be anything from 5 minutes if you're starting to run to if you're training for a marathon, then a long, slow distance run could be up to 22 miles. So just because it's long, slow, and distance, it doesn't mean to say you have to run the same distance. So your long, slow distance run is going to be relative to what you're training for. I would always put in a walk or a recovery run or a walk-run session. Definitely, because I think walking is very powerful, and we tend to walk without intention, or we walk in with the intention to getting somewhere. So our mind is not always in where we are at now when we're walking. So I would really recommend putting in a walk, which isn't like a power walk or anything. It really is a reset. It's a time when you can focus on your structure, you can focus on your breathing, you can really energize and restore through the body. Use the muscles that you're working when you're walking. There's more muscle power when you're walking really than when you're running, because when you're running, we're using more of that elastic energy. Without a doubt, you need to put in a fun run. So if you're only doing one run a week, make sure it's a fun run. And this is where you can just be curious, play and explore. So you're not really having any other intention apart from that. So you could go out for a fun run, you might end up running 20 miles, or you might end up running for 10 minutes. That's really irrelevant. The intention and the purpose of that run is to explore, to play, and be curious. If you are, say, for example, you're running on a trail, then maybe check a little bit off the beaten track, stop and do some squats, or have a little climb on some logs, or hang from a tree, or anything that's just playful. We are allowed to play. And then you've got tempo runs, race pace. And with these, you're just challenging yourselves a little bit more. So you're being a little bit more powerful. You're taking your body to that aerobic threshold. So you are pushing yourself a little bit. But again, there's that fine line between pushing and being powerful to forcing and hurting yourself. So just be really mindful when you start to get to tempo, race pace, and when we go to intervals and hills, that you're not just doing it for the sake of trying to do it, and that actually you're in control and you can feel that power, and that you can relax into that power as well. So with the tempo and the race pace, then this should feel quite challenging, but it's still energizing, it's uplifting, it's very strong, it's very powerful. So those are the intentions that you can go out with for that run. And then the final one, and again, I wouldn't always include this. We really have to be strong in our structure and have really good technique to be able to take the force that is put through the body when we do interval training. Hill repeats, I personally use hill repeats rather than interval training, because for me it's a better workout, if you like. I'm not really into sort of like sprinting intervals, but again, this is all what works for you, what is enjoyable for you. But with this type of session, then think of it as short, fun, controlled bursts of energy, and just really go for it. But again, we never want to be out of control. So we always want to be in control of the breath and in control of the body. Effort level. It's important to be able to really body sense what we call rate of perceived exertion. So how we are feeling and what effort we feel we're putting into our practice. Now, there's all sorts of biofeedback stuff like watches, sports watches, heart rate monitors, which are all great, but you don't need all of that tech. As long as you can tune in with how you are feeling in your body, that's a really good place to be. And even with the tech, even with all the biofeedback, you want to be thinking, you want to be tuning into your body first and using that biofeedback just to monitor. So say if you start thinking, oh, I'm running at a pretty easy effort level, and then you check and your heart rate's through the roof, then that's something that you need to consider. But don't necessarily be a slave to the heart rate monitor. 80-20 training. So this is a great way to consider how you're planning your sessions. So 80% of your training should be pretty easy. So in that aerobic threshold, when we're looking at breathing, then it's breathing easy in and out through the nose, nasal breathing. And once you are sufficiently conditioned, once the body's sufficiently conditioned, then you can do that 20%, which is that more higher intensity element. What tends to happen is we go out and do the same type of run all the time, or the same type of training, which is in that murky bit in the middle. But actually, you're not going to get loads of improvement for that. You'll improve a little bit and then you'll plateau. So we really want to do what is called polarized training, less higher intensity and more easy training. So if you think roughly about 80% easy, 20% a little bit more challenging in your training. If we look at gears, so I really talk about effort level and the breath controlling your effort level. So it's a really good idea to think of gears, breath gears. Now, if we look at gear 1, this is where you would be breathing easily in and out through the nose. So there'd be hardly any increase in the breath rate or the breath volume. So when you transition, when you go from walk to run, you hardly change your breath. Yes, you'll increase the volume a little bit and you'll increase the rate a little bit, but we don't want to go into a full out run. We're not going in for a sprint. So it's really ease into that run. Remember, we always keep the cadence nice and light and quick. So the minute you transition from walk to run, you want to start that nice, light, quick cadence. This you could use as a recovery run. So if you're doing a nice, easy recovery one where you're running in gear 1, and that would be easy aerobic. And if we look at what is called the rate of perceived exertion, and there is a scale which is sort of like an internationally recognized effort level scale called the Borg scale. And this scale is from 6 to 20. And 6 is when you are literally lying in bed doing nothing, so really no effort whatsoever. And 20 would be if you're literally being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. So on our rate of perceived exertion scale, we're looking in gear 1 here to be about 10 to 12. Now, why we use a 6 to 20 is that very roughly, if you add a 0 to that number, so the 10 to 20, so 100 to 120, very approximately, you're getting sort of like a heart rate training zone there. Now, I know there's a lot of other things that affect heart rate, so really don't take this as a given, but roughly, if your heart rate's between 100 and 120, you're running in gear 1 at an easy pace. You should easily be able to nasal breathe. Gear 2, this would be steady nasal breathing. So it's a little bit more challenging, but you should still be easily able to breathe in and out through the nose. And you'd use this for your long, slow distance runs or your tempo runs. Or a nice little run is what is called a Kenyan Hills run, where you run the hills at the same effort level. How we tend to think of hills are like hill repeats. So every time we see a hill, we go, oh, this is going to be hard work, so I'm really going to have to push myself up it. And then we get to the top, recover, and take it really easy coming back down the hill. If you're running Kenyan hills, then you run at the same effort level. So if you're in gear 2 and you get it to a hill and the effort level starts to go above gear 2, then you bring it down by turning it into a walk. So you stay in gear 2 up that hill, that might be walking. But then the challenging bit is if it's a steep downhill, you want to maintain that effort level running downhill. And again, we need to have a good structure to be able to take that. But yeah, it's keeping that effort level throughout the run on the hills. That again is still aerobic. And we're looking there at our rate of perceived exertion of between 12 and 14. If we go to gear 3, we can be nasal breathing, still breathing in through the nose, but with a little bit more of an active exhale. So we put in a little bit more power behind, a little bit more energy behind. So you're just bringing it up a gear. So there might be a little bit more active exhale through the nose there. And what you will most probably do occasionally as you're running is occasionally take a fuller breath in and then use an active exhale out through the mouth. So almost like that candle breath out through the mouth. What we're doing there is we're just getting rid of any excess CO2 that's built up. And it's also almost like opening up the airways a little bit more, opening up the little air sacs in the lungs to help let more oxygen into the body. That you could use for race pace or tempo, sort of top of tempo runs, or longer interval runs. So perhaps if you're training for a marathon, a longer interval might be a mile where you're running at this effort level. So you can use this for that type of training. You're going towards the top of your aerobic, what is called the aerobic threshold. And the rate of perceived exertion for this, in this gear, is about 15 to 16. So you gain your heart rate up there to about 150, 160. And then finally, we go for gear 4, when you would I'd still think of breathing in through the nose, but with a more active exhale out through the mouth. Now, again, we're still in control of the breath. So really emphasize that we don't want to lose control of the breath, but you can exhale through the mouth. So this you would be using for intervals or hill repeats. So when you're doing short bursts, short bursts that you can't sustain for a long period of time, maybe only a few seconds, maybe 20 seconds. So it's not that you're going to run a whole race in gear 4. And you would recover with a couple of fuller breaths in, so a fuller, deeper breath in, and then just a couple of exhales out through the mouth. So just to blow off any of that excess CO2. And then soon as you got rid of that excess CO2, come back to nasal breathing. Really helps to calm the mind and calm the body. So again, when you get to the end of that interval, we don't want you to be out of control of the breath. Yeah, it's going to be challenging. You're going to be out of breath in inverted commas, but not out of control of the breath. That training you're doing more anaerobically, so that's why you can only do it for short periods of time, because you're working without oxygen. And the effort level for this is going to be about 17 to 18. So that's pretty high up on the Borg scale. Here's a table. I've just popped all of that in a little table there for you. So that if you just look at it in one place, you can see that the scale, the effort level, and the wording in the middle, the very, very light, gentle walk. All of that is official wording, if you like, of the boat, of the Borg scale. So to summarize, make sure the slide works. To summarize, consider your vision and your goals. Know your why, understand why you're doing it. What is this practice all about? What perhaps is holding you back? So things that you can start to work on and start to put a little bit more attention to help you achieve your vision and your goals. Plan your daily schedule. Again, this can change, but at least if you've got something scheduled in, you can move it around and you'll do it. If we don't schedule anything in, then you won't do it. And set an intention for each practice. So really go out with that clear intention rather than just, I'm doing my daily exercise. Ultimately, just go out exploring, experiencing, and enjoying.